Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to another video on our channel. May God shower abundant blessings on your life and that of your whole family. Today, we're going to share valuable guidance from Father Oliveira for the times we're living in. We start talking about the dream of the 3 days of darkness, a deeply significant and relevant theme for our generation. Over many years, Father Oliveira has received mystical visions and prophetic revelations from God that offer us a spiritual guide to face today's challenges. The following account is a testimony to this dream that Father Oliveira has experienced several times. He shares that the first of these dreams occurred in 2003, although the exact date has been lost over time. What is certain is that this experience was repeated over the course of 16 years, with variations in frequency, occurring once or twice a week. On some occasions, the dream was completely revealed, while on others, Father Oliveira woke up before it was finished, leaving it incomplete. These repeated visions offer a powerful message that invites us to reflection and spiritual preparation. Over the years, what changed in the dream were the people present and the place where the events took place. However, the events themselves, as well as the words I heard and said, remained unchanged. In January 2019, after finally sharing the dream with a family member, it never happened again. Until then, I hadn't told anyone about the experience. It was precisely on that day that I had my first contact with Padre Pio's supposed letters about the 3 days of darkness. The similarity between the content of the letters and my dream was so striking that I felt compelled to reveal what had accompanied me for so many years. I would now like to describe the dream in more detail. It always began in the same way. I was standing near the door of a house. As I mentioned, over the years the appearance of the place changed, but the scene always involved me looking at the sky outside. At one point, the sky was tinged in intense red, but with a different hue to that seen at dawn or dusk. The sun was low on the horizon and the sky seemed to be on fire, with a mixture of bright red and blue. The clouds that appeared were like nothing I had ever seen before, looking like they were made of fire. Then many birds began to appear. At first I could hear them, all flying in the same direction. Then, suddenly, the sky darkened rapidly, as if a storm was about to break out. At that moment, there was always someone close to me, although their identity varied. These visions carried a sense of urgency and mystery that lingered in my memory for many years. In the dreams, the identity of the person next to me also changed, but the question they asked was always the same: "What's happening?" My answer, invariable, was always the same: "It's starting." At that moment, a feeling of intense cold enveloped me, and I found myself hurrying into the house. Then I began to close the windows with boards, blankets, or other materials I had at hand. Although the objects I used to block the windows and doors varied over the years, the situation was always the same. We had to seal all the openings in the place. I was never alone in this task. There were several people with me, all acquaintances, who helped me close the windows and doors, as well as carrying food or blankets from one place to another. There always came a point in the dream when someone began to doubt the need for these measures, saying things like, "That's an exaggeration. They've already said on television that it will pass." However, I insisted that everyone continue working, making sure that everything was properly protected. Two details recurred every time I had this dream. Firstly, I always saw myself reflected in the glass of the window, noticing that my hair and beard were completely white. Secondly, always at the end, when we had almost finished closing up, an acquaintance arrived at the last minute, and we felt a great sense of relief at their arrival. From that point on, darkness took over, and I could no longer make out the faces of everyone in the house with me. The number of people around me varied between 20 and 30. In the center of the room, there was always a light coming on. The first time I dreamt, it was candles, about 5 or 6, big and small, placed in the center of the room. At other times, it was a fireplace that lit up the room. This was repeated many times, but always with candles in front or emergency lights accompanied by candles. The third part of the dream always followed this pattern. Everyone was gathered in the dark, with a small light source in the center. Each person held a text in their hands. At this point, someone would invariably comment on the intense cold, and I would always respond in the same way. It's already started. We'd better pray and keep quiet. After this exchange of words, the dream took a darker turn. I began to hear disturbing noises, like thunder and lightning. Sometimes the sounds resembled bomb explosions. The strong wind whistled, creating an even more tense atmosphere. Through the few remaining gaps in the windows and doors, we could see a flashing light, as if it came from those lightning bolts or explosions, but it was difficult to determine the exact origin of that sinister luminosity. Those final moments of the dream always brought a sense of uncertainty and fear. The fear that gripped us at that moment was overwhelming. It was as if the whole house was shaking, both the floor and the walls, creating a feeling of deep insecurity. The sequence of events became even more disturbing. Screams began to emerge from outside, accompanied by a deafening noise, as if a crowd was running desperately through the streets. The sound of gunfire echoed through the air, along with the noise of objects being smashed and the anguished cries of panicked people. If I had to describe this soundscape, I wouldn't hesitate to call it the sound of hell. The atmosphere was charged with a dark and oppressive energy. At this point in the dream, someone was always approaching the window, as if trying to get a peek at what was going on outside. Immediately, I would get up and urgently say, "Stay away from the windows, don't look outside." It was a warning repeated countless times throughout these dreams, and so the dream always ended the same way, leaving a feeling of helplessness and terror at the unknown that was unfolding beyond the walls of the house. I was gathered with a few people around a small light, locked inside a house, while chaos was unfolding outside. The atmosphere, filled with terror that seemed like hell itself, left me deeply shaken. Sitting on a small stool, I stared into the flames of the candles and, almost like a mantra, repeated to myself, "We only have to endure 3 days. In 3 days, this will pass." However, the dream never continued beyond that point. Either I woke up before or exactly at that moment. That was the account of Father Oliveira's dream about the 3 days of darkness. According to his prophecies, these events are very close to happening. He emphasizes the urgent need for all believers to form cenacles of prayer, strengthening their families spiritually to face this dark period. To those who pray the Holy Rosary daily to Our Lady, there is nothing to fear. May Our Lady cover you and your entire family with her blessings. And may the Lord Jesus send a legion of angels and archangels to encamp around each of your homes. May all the heavenly militias and Mary's legion of angels intercede for us. Thank you for watching this video. Leave your like and subscribe to the Living Hope channel on YouTube. Activate notifications by clicking on the bell to receive other publications.